People will misunderstand you. They will be mean, and they will quote you out of context, and they'll get it wrong. And sometimes they'll be right, and they will point out where you're a silliness. And this is an answer to a question posed to me by my friend BlackCat2005, who recently posted some new videos up on YouTube. And I jumped the gun. I went and looked at the videos, and I'm really bad about it. I don't look at titles or descriptions, and I went right in. And the first video didn't have any description about what was going on. I didn't know where I was. I found myself suddenly in a guardhouse. It seemed to be a guardhouse somewhere, looking at guns and hats and people and hearing strange sounds. And the clip was short and left, and I was like, where am I? What was this? And I left a comment saying, who, what, where, when, why, and how. And in hindsight, I realized that it was, everything was described in the title and description. And I apologize for that, Black Cat. I need to be better about that. But that's another topic altogether, about the content of a video containing everything in this modern age. It's good for a video to basically encapsulate its entire message within the vid itself without any reliance on a description or title. That's another topic. What I'm talking about now is the question that Black Cat asked me on Twitter about how to be more comfortable speaking, because part of the reason that he did not speak in that video is he's telling me that he feels a little uncomfortable opening his mouth on the camera, and that's something that a lot of people feel. And the question to me was, how do you become more comfortable speaking on camera? Now, I'm going to try to be quick. The answer for me is simply, in my case, it's the only case I can refer to, is that I have nothing to lose. I'm at this point in my life, the worst that can happen is someone's going to, as I said before, insult me, quote me out of context, get me wrong, or just be mean. Or in many cases, sometimes they'll be right on what they say. Nice reinforcing feedback is always welcome. But if they get me wrong, or they're mean, or they're just flat out right and pointing out where my fallacies are, where my failings are, where my human frailties are, then that's the worst that's going to happen. I mean, they can't reach through the internet and, throttle me, although maybe if they were really ambitious, they could find me. But that's not likely to happen. So I don't worry too much, the worst that happens is I'll learn that I'm more of a fool. So what? I already know that all enough. It doesn't bother me anymore. I already know how much of a fool I am. The best thing that happened is they may show me where I'm wrong, as often is the case. So I don't worry. So I turn the camera and I talk and I blather and I spew my ideas and my thoughts, and I get corrected and sometimes agreed with and often laughed at. That's not a big deal for me anymore. I don't mind. But for a lot of people, it is a big deal. A lot of people don't like that. And what I think, though, is there's a mistake sometimes. People sometimes mistakenly believe that what they're afraid of is what other people will think of them. And I don't think that's what's going on. People aren't afraid of what other people will think of them. They're afraid of knowing what other people will think of them. And that's precisely what YouTube brings to bear, because of the comments and the feedback, which is largely anonymous. You learn exactly what other people think about you. Now, I'm going to illustrate this idea with a story, a really heart-wrenching story, one that, painful. But I think it illustrates the point. A few years back here in Japan, there was a news story about a family that was in dire straits. They were one of these upwardly mobile young families in their early 30s, a husband and wife with 2 children, a little boy and a girl, and they had a nice high-rise apartment in one of these big skyscraper buildings here in Japan. They had the big, beautiful car. The Japanese want that big, giant, El Grande or whatever it is they're called. They had a nice house, an apartment full of furnishings, a good job and everything. They were living the Japan dream, and they basically ran into dire straits. It's tough economic times, dire straits, and they were faced with basically losing all of this and coming back to a more humble existence. Rather than face that consequence of having to give it all up, lose everything, and all that goes with that, the husband and wife came up with a plan, and brace yourself. The plan was he would kill her, then kill the children, and then commit suicide. And that's what they did. They came up with this plan together. He strangled her, then went into the bedrooms and murdered the 2 children, and then threw himself off the balcony of their high-rise. And they found the body on the ground, and that's what led them to the scene of the crime and a description of what happened. And so there you go. Now, what that is the case is that this family, they weren't. I'm out of breath just telling this story. It's so shocking to me. But it wasn't that they were afraid of the condemnation of their family or the thoughts of their community about having lost everything. They were afraid of having that, experiencing that knowledge themselves, that other people knew that. So they would much rather do something that would cause much worse concept thrown upon them by their peers, by their community, but they wouldn't be around to experience it. Now, once I read that story, it shook my mind up for a week. I wasn't the same, and I'm probably not going to be the same for another week now that I've brought it back to bear. So that's basically what a lot of us, I think, are going through in life when we are faced with the opportunity to put our ideas forward. We're not as much concerned about, and I didn't do a good job describing the story to the point that I was trying to make, which was that people are concerned more about knowing what other people think about them than what people think about them themselves. In this case, this couple could do something so drastic that would basically remove them from the scene. So it didn't matter what the people thought about them because they were removed from the scene altogether. They didn't have to experience what other people were thinking. That's what happens on YouTube and Twitter and other places where you put your ideas out, especially on YouTube. If you put your face forward and your voice forward, there's no anonymity there. Really, it's really you. And then people come back and give you what they think about that. You are experiencing that directly. You are hearing what they think about you. And if you haven't been sufficiently humbled as I have, so that there's nothing left. You can't, you want to kick me? Get in line. I mean, if there's nothing, there's really nothing left. There's nothing you can do to me. I don't care anymore. It's not that I don't care anymore. It just doesn't affect me so much anymore. I mean, I look for the opportunities to improve, but if you're going to call me, ding dong, so what? If you haven't reached that point. Wow, could that be a point? A point if you haven't reached so far down in the humiliation level and survived it, then you are afraid, because you put yourself out there and people are going to kick you downhill, and you don't want to go downhill. You want to go uphill, or you want to stay on wherever that is, that point is that you think about yourself and not learn otherwise. So my long-winded advice then, Black Hat, is how do you become comfortable speaking on the camera to others? You simply have to get to the point where you can tolerate the true words that will come from others, which include mistaken misunderstandings of what you're saying, mean words directly aimed to hurt you, or basically words that will point out your mistakes and your frailties for the possible betterment of your self-improvement. If you're okay with that kind of stuff, then you're going to be able to be a vlogger, a blogger, or whatever the case may be. And I highly recommend that endeavor, because in fact, though the pain is real, so is the improvement that comes from such an opportunity. With that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. 8 minutes into this. How do I always make such long videos? Okay, take care, everybody, and have this cool day in Japan. Have a great day, and good luck, Black Hat. I love what you're doing. See you, and I loved seeing that black hat in that first video of yours. Now I know what it looks like. Bye-bye.